Margaret Lewin and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. I was going to sit on the floor today again, but in a skirt I didn't think it was really a good idea. So instead I'm in the chair. I'll make sure that I can get complete pictures of the quilt for you so that you can see it. At this point I'm about halfway through getting all of the hexagons sewn down. There were 3 different methods that I could have used. The first one was buttonhole, and buttonhole's just not my favorite. I'll do it and I don't mind it, but it's just not my favorite stitch on the sewing machine. I love to do buttonhole by hand, but I'd rather not do it on the sewing machine. The next option was just doing a straight stitch, and I didn't want to do that because I've already done the straight stitch with you. In fact, I did one not long ago on an Adidas Sitar flag. She is from Laundry Basket Quilts and she's a designer for Moda. And I will put a link below or else a card up above, one or the other, so that you can go see that video to see how I straight stitched. And I will also put some close-ups of straight stitching this if that's what you choose to do. I wanted to do the zigzag more than anything. And the reason I wanted to do the zigzag was because I wanted to add more color to it. My whole thought process on this quilt from the very beginning, so that you understand, was I just wanted the hexagons to just really stand out and pop. So I have done the zigzag stitch with a thread called Joseph's Coat, and it is a very, very pretty thread. I will put in a clip of what the thread looks like too, so that you can see that. So that was what I zigzagged it with, and I'm going to show you how I zigzagged it, and especially how I went around the corners and how I folded this quilt so that it would make it easier to do on my domestic machine. This was not being done on my long arm. I did it on the domestic machine. And you can, the quilt's 80 by 100, and I'm really not having a hard time doing it at all on the machine. It just, you know, it takes a while. You're stitching all the way around every single hexagon. So my thought process going forward is once I get the hexagons all sewn down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a design in every one of the hexagons, and then I'm going to quilt the background in a manner that it just kind of disappears, because I really want the hexagons more than anything to stand out. So if you'd like to see how I went about zigzagging these hexagons, stay tuned and I will show you how I did it. Once you get all your hexagons where you want them and all placed out, your next thing is going to be to pin them right down to your background fabric. You can see I've got a pin in every one of them. So the reason for the pinning is because, all right, I'm going to show you with the yellow one how I go about adhering it down. So just to backtrack a little bit so that you know what I've done, I took my background fabric and I laid that down on the floor. Then I took and I laid my hexagons all around on the quilt. And then I did take a picture of them so that I could see what it was that they looked like. Moved some things around, took another picture, moved more things around, took another picture, moved more things around, took another picture, and I was finally happy. I got down on the floor and I pinned all of my hexagons where I wanted them to be so that I wouldn't lose them, because I wanted them to stay right where I had them, okay? So they're all down where I want them to be, and you can see I'm a wrinkled mess. So my first thing I'm going to do is remove my hexagon, and I'm going to just press this fabric. And why I'm pressing it is because I want it nice and flat, and I want to make sure that I don't have any extra little threads in there, because any extra little threads could potentially show through. All right, now it doesn't have to be perfectly not wrinkled. I just want it, you know, pretty good. In this, I want my yellow block kind of centered in my block, and my block is here. You can't see the entire thing, but that's where my block is. So now I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to show you what I do. I'm just taking a straight pin. Can you see it? Just a plain old straight pin. And I'm going to score the back of this. And I press down to the point that it goes through the paper. Okay, I score it, and then see, I can very easily remove the paper on the back. It just comes right off. I've got a garbage can right next to me because that's where they're all going. I can lay that down, throw out my little piece, and then I'm just doing it by eye. I thought about measuring every single one of them to make sure that they were right where I wanted them to be. And then I got to thinking, you know what? I want this to be kind of scrappy. I don't want it to be perfectly aligned on every single block. So that's what I do. My next thing is I take my pressing sheet, and in the notes below, I'll leave exactly what this pressing sheet is. It's really a nice one. It came from Bonash, and I really, really do like it. It's a nice pressing sheet. Put my pressing sheet over it. And remember, the Steam 2 light is a little bit tacky, so it's stuck to my background fabric for me. So I'm taking that, then I'm taking my nice hot cotton iron with water in it, so there's steam there, and I'm just ironing it. Just putting the iron around it. And I'm done. That's it. Now, on some of the other ones, I'm gonna shift this a little bit so that you can see. When I did this up, I also make the adjustments here so you can see. I also took and I put one hexagon on where all of the block came together. See, I've got it all came together right here. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to put one right there where it all came together. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing. Now, can you see? I've got a thread right here, and that thread might have shown through. So I'm gonna grab scissors. Where are my little scissors? I'm gonna grab scissors, and I'm actually gonna clip it right off because I don't want that thread underneath there because it may show later on. And that's not something I want to have happen. So I'm gonna press it first. Okay, once I've pressed it, I'm gonna take my hexagon, I'm gonna turn it over, and I'm gonna score the back of it. And the scoring is all that does is that lifts that paper up off of that Steam 2 light so that I can just very, very easily pull it right off. Okay, so off it comes. One last little piece here. Okay. Throw that out. And now I'm ready to turn it over and put it on. Now on this one, I could line it up so that my points were on my seams here. I'm not very centered this time. I do want to be a little bit centered. So here I am, but I think I'm just gonna make it, just turn it a little bit so that I'm not quite perfectly straight, but yet I'm not totally, I don't know, I just want to turn it a little bit. I think it looks good like that. I've got some of mine like this. I've got some of them so that they're, I'll show you, so that they're facing this way. I've got some so they're facing this way. I've got them all different ways. But this one I kind of like this. So to me, that looks kind of good. I think it's off a little bit. Let's move it a little bit more over to this way. And this is where you really get to have fun. You get to make it your own, put a little bit of a spin on it. So now I'm gonna press this one down. And I'm just gonna do that all over the quilt. Then the next step, after you've done that and you've got them all down, we're gonna take it over to the sewing machine and we are going to start permanently affixing it to the background fabric. I'm about to turn it, so I thought I'd show you how I go about doing this. So I've just laid it out on the side of my sewing table, and I've done this entire row, okay? So now I'm gonna fold this row in a little bit, and I know I'm getting in front of the camera, I'm sorry. There, I'm gonna fold that row in a little bit, and I'm sliding off, so I'm gonna keep pushing it back up. Now I'm gonna take this, which is really the bulk of the quilt, all right? I'm gonna fold it back like this, and then I'm just gonna roll it back up again. So now here I am at this stage. I can roll this side, move this side a little bit more. So I'm gonna fold that again. Okay, so now I've got this row of hexagons right here, and that's my next row to sew. Get in front of the camera on you again a little bit. Sorry about that. Now I'm gonna start down at the blue. So I'm gonna push this all this way. You can see I've got a blue, a black, an orange to sew on the next row. I'm gonna fold this again. One more time just to get me a little bit closer to where I wanna be. And now I can just take this and I can just fold it right up and fold it again. The blue's the first one that I need. So now I'll get this a little bit more flat for me, like this. I'll rotate it around. I'm gonna fold this one up a little bit. And now I can work with it like this. And what will happen when I start putting it through the throat plate, I'll just fold this around, or I may end up taking it up like this. Anything so that I can get this into a flat surface. All right, there's a couple things that I want to show you before I start showing you how to sew these down. First, I want to show you I'm using this thread. The manufacturer is King Tut. I don't know if you can see it or not. And the color name is Joseph's Coat, and the color number is 918, okay? So this is what I'm using to outline all of the hexagons. The next thing that I want to show you is how I folded the fabric up. I have just, and I'll show it to you, just a regular Bernina, nothing special. Got the smaller throat plate on this one. But what I've done is I've taken and I have folded everything so that I can easily fit it in between my throat plate. The next thing that I want to show you is the foot that I'm using. I am using, make sure you can see it, I'm using number 34, and you can see that it is a clear foot. Hopefully you can see. I'm going to set it right down there. It's a clear foot. And what I'm using, or how I'm lining it up, is I'm lining this mark right here up with the edge of my hexagon right here. Okay, so that's important. So I'm going to adjust things so that I can get you right up close so that you can see what it is that I'm doing. All right, now I'm hoping that you can see this. I'm going to start sewing, and I am on a zigzag, and my stitch width is at 4, and my stitch length is at 1. Now that's important to remember so that when you stop and you come back, you may have to reset your machine again. And my needle is in the down function. And that's also important when we come to the part that we get to the points. You can't see one quite yet, but all right, so I'm going to start stitching. And I am going to take 2 back stitches. Not huge one, just 2 of them, okay? And now I'm going to get going around. And I'm just lining up. I think you can see the edge right here of my fabric so that I can zigzag. I'm going to go right on down to my point. Now when I get down to my point, you can see I slow right down because I'm watching where my needle's going down as close to that point as I can get it. And then I'm going to start turning it just a little bit. So just a slight turn. Put my presser foot down, put a stitch out. Now I'm going to pick up, I'm going to turn just a little bit more again, not a big turn. Put it down, pick it up, do a little bit bigger of a turn this time because I've done my corner. I'm going to go down again, and then I'm going to make one more turn. I may have to make two, but well, yep, I'm going to have to make two. And you're going to be able to see when you have to make two, all right? Yep. I'm going to go another stitch and another one more, and then I'm going to make my straighten myself right out again. Now this is where it starts to get difficult because I've got all this fabric to work with. So I have folded it over again, and I'll take a picture of it. Okay, so now that I've turned my corner, I'm just going to straighten it out, put my presser foot back down, make sure I'm still in alignment, and then off I go again. Yep, and the fabric's going to fall right down in front of you guys. And I'm sorry about that, but I'm trying. Again, I'm coming to a corner, so I'm going to slow right down. And now I'm going to pick it up. Oops, and I'm going to start turning again. I'm going to face the camera behind you now so that you can hopefully see how I'm rotating the fabric, because I think that's going to be important for you. Alright, so here I go, starting to rotate this fabric in here because I'm getting close to this corner. And I am holding my quilt because, whoop, I went too far. So I'm going to do a back stitch and one more. Okay. Now I'm going to lift my presser foot. I just dropped thread on the floor. Lift my presser foot, and I'm going to start kind of rolling this into here any way that I can, whatever it takes. But because it's kind of rolled up a little bit, it does make it a little bit easier. All right, now I'm going to turn a little more. Okay, and just kind of going right forward. Here we go. And you can, the quilt is kind of making its way right through my machine. And now I'm going to push it through. Now it's on the other side, so I can just stitch straight. And it's not as hard as what you'd think it'd be. And you can't see a thing I'm doing, can you? All right, there we go. Try to keep it out of the way so that you can see. All right, that's as far as I can go. And now I've got to turn. Put my presser foot down and turn again. Okay, and that was the entire quilt. Now, you know this is an 80 by 100 quilt, and that really is the bulk of the quilt right there in front of you. And here I go. I'm just going to stitch straight again. Keep going. get to my corner, slow down, lift my presser foot, make a little bit of a turn, go back, go forward, make a little bit more of a turn, a little bit more. And now I'm going to be straight again. And see, with that needle down, it makes it really easy for me to make the adjustments that I need to make on my fabric. There we go. One more. And now start turning again. Little turn first. And then bigger turn. I'm going to have to do one more, I think. Yeah, one more turn. And then I'm going to be straight again. Okay, so there is a block all done. Okay. Now, if you want to straight stitch it, I'm going to show you how to go about doing it with the straight stitch next, okay? Now that I've shown you how to do the zigzag, I'm now going to show you another method that you can do. What you can do is a straight stitch right down here, okay? What you want to do though is make certain that when you do your straight stitch, you are like right about here. You don't want to be way over on the edge, because if you're way over on the edge, you could miss part of it. And if you're too far in, when you go to long arm it, if it's not adhered really well, which this steam-a-seam is, or steam-a-seam 2 is what mine is. But if for some reason yours isn't adhered really well at the edge, the long arm could pick this up and fold it over, and you don't want that to happen. So what I've done to be ready is I'm going to line up with the red line again on my presser foot, and I'm still using the number 34 with the clear foot, because I like that clear foot so I can see through. And I have moved my needle over. Let's see how many I'm over. 1, 2. I think 2 will do it. I don't think I want to go any more than 2. No, I don't. So I'm over 2, and I'm just going to do a nice straight stitch. Now there's a buttonhole stitch too, but I'm not going to show you the buttonhole today. So I'm going to take a couple, 1, 2, 3 stitches. I'm going to back stitch twice, and now I'm going to go forward. And I'm just lining up that edge of my fabric, my applique piece, to that red line. So I'm stitch, stitch. All right, now I'm going to pick up my presser foot and turn and see where my lineup is. I'm too far in, so I'm going to pick up my presser foot and go back, go one more stitch, and now I'm really too far off. But I'd rather be too far off than too far in. So what I've done is I've angled my applique piece just a little bit to get me right back on target again. And there I go. And I'll take it down to the next corner. And I'll do that again. I'll slow down as I get to the corner. Now I'm almost there. If I turn it, I'm about half a stitch away. So I'm going to put it back down. I'm going to go forward, and then I'm going to turn it. And I'm just going to angle it a little bit so that I can get right back on track. Okay? And back on track I am. Okay? So let's see. Yep. Let's pull this up, and then I can show you what it looks like. And see, that's what it looks like. There's your corner. Okay? And see, I'm really close to the edge. I've got a really nice stitch. and I love this thread. Okay, so I am going to continue working on my zigzag of my hexagons. Thanks so much for sticking around till the end. I'm so glad that you did. I am really happy with the way this quilt is turning out. I cannot tell you. It is doing exactly what I want it to do. The thread, the Joseph's coat thread, I think is making a huge difference to the way that the quilt looks. And then once I've quilted it, I really think it's gonna pop even more. So I'm very, very excited about that. I do intend, as I think I said earlier, I'm gonna stitch the background in a manner that it just kind of disappears. I say it's like pushing the background in the back so that you don't see it, and I wanna bring those hexagons to the front. And how I think I'm gonna accomplish that, or how I hope to, is by putting a design in each one of the hexagons, and then what I'm gonna do is a really simple quilting in the background, so that you really don't notice it. The other thing I'm gonna do is the hexagons are gonna be quilted with a variegated bright thread, probably Joseph's coat, and the background is going to be quilted with a really soft gray, so that it really kind of makes that background stand back a little bit. So as soon as I have finished sewing or zigzagging the hexagons all the way around the quilt, then I'll take a picture of it and I'll put it up on Instagram and on Twitter so that you can see what it looks like, because I think it'll be exciting. Somehow I'm gonna get a picture of the whole thing for you. And I'll stick that up there so that you can see it. And then as soon as that's done, I am gonna get it on long arm and get it quilted. And then the next time you see this quilt, it will be completely done. Well, with the exception of the binding. I doubt that I'll have the binding on by the time I'm showing it to you. So I'm not sure if I'll be back on Tuesday with this one completed, or if it's gonna be another week. Just depends upon how much I get done on it this weekend. So thank you so very much for joining me. I'm so glad that you were here again. If you have any questions, or there was anything that I didn't explain in detail that you could understand or that you couldn't see, please do leave a message below. I read all the messages. I try to respond to as many as I possibly can, but I do read them and I do enjoy reading them. Please do feel free to leave a comment below, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much, and I want you guys to have a great weekend and try to find a few minutes to sit down and sew. See you again soon. Bye.